What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we have another community requested music video that we're going to be breaking down and give you guys some step-by-step tutorials on. So this video is Everglow first music video. I really don't know much about K-pop, but I do appreciate whenever music videos and music video directors use VFX in a very clever way. I love it in this dance music video sense. So let's go through here, talk about some things you guys can learn from this. It's best played with the music so you can get a feel with how these are relating to the audio. Obviously I can't play it for copyright reasons, but you have these sparks, you have these lightning flashes, a lot of different cuts. So this effect here is something that I really want to cover, this kind of jump cut where they come closer to the camera. And then you have this really interesting effect here where you have some separation from the subjects in the front here, as well as the background. They even have a little bit of this cool RGB distortion that kind of ripples up, and you see the full ripple go all the way through in the background as the subjects in the foreground are staying the same. So we'll talk about how to do something like that. We'll talk about some of these different 3D elements. They use a lot of smoke, sparks, like I was saying. The last thing I really want to talk about before we do get into the tutorial is how they use motion in this, and it's a very important thing with video editing and making your music videos flow, especially for something like this. They use a variety of different shots. I think that's the key to making a video not look stale. So you have a lot of this handheld, shaky, in your face, but then as you go through, you also have these drone shots, which are a lot more still, so you have a nice mix. Whenever the song is ramping up, you can go in with this handheld like that, and whenever you want to have a nice little pause, you can slow down the shots, get some drone stuff, put your camera on a stabilizer. So it's good to get a nice mix. Also, a lot of these little transitions, these are all just in-camera transitions. So like I said, they're shooting it handheld. You're able to make that quick little cut right here. Here's where the scene switches, and just use that natural velocity that's in the scene to give you that little in-camera transition. So very easy. Also, one other little camera thing, if you want this sort of look where it's very in your face and jumpy, you want to shoot your shots at a fast shutter speed. That way there's not a lot of motion blur. All right, so let's get into Adobe After Effects. We're going to talk about some of the lighting. We're going to talk about some of the other things that we are breaking down and mentioning. So we're going to pop in here. If you guys would like to follow along, the footage that I'm using is from pexels.com. So there will be a link down below. And let me just show you a little example of the first thing we're going to do where we're isolating that background and the subject. So here's this. Also, sorry if I look sweaty and hot. My air conditioning isn't working while I'm recording this, so bear with me if I look like I'm in a swamp. I'm going to take some breaks. All right, guys, so let's first start by showing you how to create this background distorted removal effect. So we're going to go and create a new composition here. I'm going to go and drag in my footage here, and I'm gonna make a cut at the exact moment where I want all of this background crazy distortion to happen. So right when he starts to jump, I'm gonna go ahead and click Control-Shift-D on my keyboard to split that layer. The next what I'm gonna do is rotoscope out my footage so that I'm isolating my subject here. So he's gonna be in the front while all this background craziness is going on behind him. So to do that, all you need to do is double click on your layer here until you are in the actual layer and not the composition. So up here it should say layer. Once you're in a layer, go ahead and grab your roto brush tool up here in the top left. And what you want to do is with this green brush, you just want to click and draw in the general area of your subject. So just like that. So you want to get this purple line around your subject. As you can see, it's all messed up here. So I'm going to hold down Alt on my keyboard. That'll turn my brush to red. And then with the red brush, you can go ahead and just cut away any parts of this purple line that you don't want. So I'm going to keep kind of sculpting that around the area that I like. I'm also going to bump up over here the feather in my effect controls just by a tiny bit. All right, so once you have your first frame traced here, all you need to do is click page down on your keyboard to move to the next frame. If you see anything that needs fixing, just go ahead and make that little adjustment using either your green brush or your red brush. Do that for as many frames as you'd like here. So go along, I'm going to show you a little time lapse of me going through those steps. All right, guys, so once you've gone in and made your masking adjustments, all you need to do is adjust this little gray bar here for as long as you need it to be. So grab the left side of this gray bar and just move that to the little beginning square here. Grab the right side of the gray bar and end that on the last frame that you adjusted. Once you've done that, go ahead and click this freeze button right here and let After Effects do the rest. So make sure you're in your composition now, not your layer, so you can see all of your adjustments. You can see how this is masked out. We have no background. That's perfect. Over here in your effect controls, what you can do, if you have any of these little bleeding edges, you can add more feather. You can shift the edge here, try and reduce some of that, and you can reduce chatter. So select your rotoscoped layer here. I'll rename that to Roto. I'm going to select it and click Control D to duplicate it. And then on this bottom layer here, I'm going to rename that to background. And then I'm going to go ahead and just delete the roto brush from the effect controls of my background layer. So we'll delete that. Everything should go back to normal. Now you have an isolated layer of just your subject, and then you have your normal background layer, which we can apply our distortion to. And again, if you were shooting this with a clean plate, you wouldn't have your subject in your background layer. You could just use that tripod, clean plate of the background to have that better isolation. But once we add in all this crazy distortion, we'll be good either way. So let's go ahead and start adding that. So there's a lot of ways you could go about adding distortion. You could use a little built-in turbulent displace effect and just mess with the values there. You see how I changed that? Everything's kind of distorting in the back, but our subject is staying the same. I also made a video on this free plugin called Displacer Pro. This one's really cool. It's the same as a displacement map, but it has built-in chromatic aberration. I'll leave the full tutorial I made on that in the description if you guys want to look more into that. And then of course, if you guys have any presets or plugins, there's a ton on my website. There's also the Sapphire Pack, Red Giant, whatever. For example, the Sapphire Pack here, there's Distort Chroma, and a bunch of other cool distortion plugins and things that you can use for your videos. So experiment with whatever you guys like. Like I said, there's so many options out there. What I like to do for this is I actually used this window extension here. This is called Motion Bro. So I'll leave a link to this as well from AE Scripts. I think this is like the most downloaded plugin on AE Scripts. You guys may have heard of it. Really awesome stuff here. You can create some really cool transitions. This is unsponsored. Just figured I'd mention. If you go to distortion zoom here, you can have a little preview what that looks like with a built-in sound effect. So I can just add this little in, and then I could take this clip that it puts in and just line that up wherever. And now you're going to see if I play this all the way through, we have that crazy distortion with our subject staying the same. So there's some cool examples for you to get some ideas flowing. Again, if you're looking for any other distortion effect to experiment with, just scroll through my channel or search on YouTube, Max Novak Distortion. You guys can find tons of different things and different looks. The main aspect of this is just isolating that subject using rotoscoping and then applying things to the background layer to give it that distorted look. All right, guys, so that's how you do that background distortion. Let's show you some more tips and tricks that you can replicate from that music video. So if you want to create some easy lighting, now that we have everything rotoscoped out of the way, it's easy to put things behind our subject. So let's start placing some of those flashy elements in now. So I'm going to right click down here. I'm going to go to new, and I'm going to create a new solid, and we're going to name this layer lightning. On this lightning layer, if you go to your effects and presets, you can literally search up the word lightning. You'll see under here you have generate advanced lightning, so we can place that on our solid, and it's going to give you these two little control points and this generated lightning. So again, if you take this layer and you place it beneath your little subject layer here that we have rotoed out, so we'll put it there. Now you'll see how the lightning can go behind just like that. So easy as that. If you guys want to change around the look of the lightning, if you want to see those control points again, just go in your effect controls, select the actual effect here, and those will pop back up. You can change around all of this, glow settings, core settings. If you want the radius, you can change how many of these forking branches there are. If you want to use it the way they did in the music video, make sure you're using it in very quick parts to try and match the speed of everything. All right, guys, and the last visual thing I'd like to go over here is just adding any of these sparks, smoke that you see throughout this music video. So there's some smoke right there. So a lot of these sparks at the beginning here, and you can see how they utilize rotoscoping to be able to place these elements behind the subject as well. So you can search on YouTube, you can search on Google, free spark elements, free smoke elements. You could also make them yourself using Particular for After Effects or creating any simulation in a 3D software. I really love using this site, Footage Crate, for my elements. Isn't sponsored at all, but you can find a lot of really cool free elements here, as well as they have a subscription if you want to look more into it. As you can see, spark bursts. You can also search for smoke. So it's really easy to add something like this. So I'll leave a link to this down below, and I'm going to download some of these elements. So I downloaded some of these assets. I'll go ahead and just drag that straight into After Effects. And again, make sure you're placing that layer beneath your subject if you want it behind. And you see how easy it is just to create some simple things like that to add some quick VFX. That's really about it, guys. If you want to take some of this further, I recommend practicing creating these fast moving jumps like this. It's really just changing around scale, and it's also very important as to how you shoot it. Like I said, fast shutter speed, mix of stabilized shots and a lot of handheld things, so you have that alteration. You can match the energy and the music. Let me know if there's any other videos you guys want me to break down and create some tutorials on. I have this advanced face tutorial, which I've also halfway recorded, so expect that in the next couple of days. That's all using Adobe After Effects. Super cool stuff there. Other than that, guys, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting, and I'll see you guys in the next one.